Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're doing another check-in video for the month of February. So there really isn't too much to say. I haven't really read as much as I was expecting to. I've been watching a lot of television though, so that might be what I mostly talk about. So in terms of television, I've been watching Severance, Ted Lasso, Bates Motel. I started watching Prey, the movie, and I think there was a few other things. I think I rewatched some episodes of Dan to Dan as well, and Stargate. So I don't know, I've just been in a TV watching mood. I feel like I'm not necessarily lower energy than usual, but not super excited about life right now for whatever reason. And that really does kind of make me want to mostly watch TV, right? Also, I've been playing a lot of Catan on my iPad because I found this app or this website called colonist.io, which is a Catan clone. And, well, I've been really wasting my time away playing Catan. Mostly I lose, but it's really fun. So, yeah, I don't know. I just haven't really gotten around to reading much. I mean, I still have read quite a bit, but it's probably been just keeping up with certain types of comic books, right? So, let's get into it. In terms of watching, like I mentioned, Severance, Season 1. I started Season 2. I actually caught up to it. There's a new episode tonight. So I will watch that with my roommate as soon as he gets home, because we don't have any Valentine's plans for ourselves. So, yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, when it comes to Severance, I think I've said what I needed to say last time I talked about this, which is that the concept of the show is really intriguing. The questions it poses about work-life balance are really interesting and valuable, but the way the story develops is very slow. In a way that is almost maybe detrimental to the show for my personal enjoyment of it, right? I'm sure most people don't have this issue. I've noticed that a lot of people love Severance. And I like the characters, I like the actors, I like the idea of the plot. I feel the execution's a bit too slow. Like first season was like 9 something hours worth of television, and I don't necessarily think that it needed to be a 9-hour show. It could have been like a 6 or 7 hour show, like 30-minute episodes, right? Not these like super long, hour-long ones. And it could have gotten through everything, but maybe that's not really the point of the show, and I'm just not getting it. I don't know. But in Season 2, we've gotten a lot of interesting stuff, and I have again felt that maybe the way that things are explained to us is a bit odd, because like sometimes when you leave the severed floor and you exist with the characters as they are supposed to be, naturally, I feel like the focus on their real lives is very unnecessary. A lot of the stuff that they do in their real lives doesn't seem to make too much of a difference to them inside. And in Season 2, that's like a problem because they had moments when they were out in the real world as the severed version, right? As their innie or whatever. And the fact that it took so long to really get through to talking about it is a bit weird to me. Also, this whole idea that like our main character, the Mark S, right? He notices or realizes something at the end of Season 1. And this is like a life-defining moment, right? And in Season 2, he kind of blows it off as very unimportant, even though it like shocked him when he found out. And so that dissonance in the reaction is not something I like, right? So I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, otherwise, the only real other thing I want to talk about in the watch list is Bates Motel. This season or this show is kind of odd. We didn't really care too much about it beforehand. I've never heard of it beforehand, but last weekend or the weekend before, I can't remember, my roommate was just, zoning out in front of the television. He got bored, he put this on, and I walked in like an episode later, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very compelling story. It really focuses on this woman who has a son, and her son is like 17 years old. She's like, I don't know, in her 30s, maybe early to mid 40s, right? She's not significantly old, and her relationship with her son is like emotionally very concerning. Like it's almost like emotionally incestuous. Actually, I think it is emotionally incestuous, and the effects that has on her son, who is like partially autistic, partially psychotic or something. I'm not really sure what the definition would be, the real definition would be, but he has a lot of like mental issues, right? It's a bit of a different kind of person, and the effect that her incestuous emotional manipulation has on him is very serious because it leads to him killing people like multiple times. And so they move to this small town that has like a lot of problems itself because there's like drug trafficking and sex trafficking and all of this stuff. And then suddenly these two family members, or these two women, this woman and her son, these two people show up. And when they show up, death happens and it start happening like kind of regularly. And this is kind of throwing the whole town out of whack. And so honestly, when I'm watching the show, I just constantly think, oh, you know what would be good right here? If Reacher showed up, right? Reacher from the TV show Reacher. The first season is very similar in setup to how it is in Bates Motel. And it's kind of ridiculous, but I constantly find myself feeling like that. Like there needs to be an outside force that comes in to fix this. And the thing is that there is none, because there is no other characters that have an invested interest in Norma and Norman Bates, right? And so you just have this like slow descent into madness for the young man and this destruction of this area that, you know, is already messed up. So maybe there is some like morality to it, some positives coming out of his descent into madness, but in such a way that really feels so sad and compelling and interesting. And I really like the show. I really have had a great time watching it, so I recommend it. You guys should give it a go. It's really, really fun. Yeah, that's it for the watch list. Let me reset here really quick. Okay, so we're back for the reading list. So like I said, I haven't really read too much, but I did read quite a few issues of comic books just because that's the easiest thing to do. And also I feel much more compelled to do so than reading manga, specifically because every week I have new comic books, right? And so I got to read last week's comic books before I get the next ones. Otherwise, I'm just going to pile up, and they're more expensive than manga. So I feel like I got to actually justify buying them by reading them quickly, right? So I mostly read those. But I did want to talk about some other things first. So in terms of reading, like novels, I have been reading a bit. I read this little novella series called Our Own Way by Misty Vixen. It's a Haremlit series. It's a slice of life series. There is no fantasy elements to it at all. It's very much like a guy and a few girls, and they just live in a small town in the middle of nowhere, and they just go through their life, right? And their life involves them trying to go their own way, which means trying to not work in the traditional workforce, trying to get away from having to work shitty retail jobs and all of this stuff, right? And the version that I read is the original novella version. I think I got them from a sale that Misty Vixen had done a long time ago, basically either for 99 cents or for free. And she recently, or maybe in the last year or so, decided to remove that from Kindle, so you can't buy it anymore, and to restart the series and remake it into these larger, more expansive novels, right? And so if you look up Our Own Way by Misty Vixen, you're not going to get what I read. But if you go onto her website and then you go to the free novels section, you can download this version of Our Own Way for free to read yourself. I think you might have to mess with it a little bit. You're going to have to download Calibre or Calibri or Caliber, I guess is the right way to say it, and kind of run it through it to turn it into an EPUB, because her download link is directly an AWS3 file or whatever. And you can't actually use those directly. You can't upload it to your iPad or anything like that. You have to turn it into an EPUB first, right? So it takes a few steps, but I think it's probably worth it. I really, really enjoyed it. I had the original 7 novellas. I read one through the other very quickly. They got longer progressively, as you went through the series, and it was pretty fun. So it opens on this loser guy called Gabe, who has recently managed to not be a loser anymore and has managed to move out into his own place. He is an aspiring writer. He has been writing erotica and kind of just using his writing skills for other people on Indeed or on websites like that, where you get hired for small short jobs and you just kind of get paid per thing, right? I think there's another website that used to do that a lot, but I can't remember the name of it. I remember signing up for it, but I never got any hits on it. So He's this kind of guy, right? And he's been working on creating a series of books to publish on Amazon, or Indigo, or Ignition, I think is what it's called in the fake world that they live in. And he finally managed to scrounge up enough money to live in a place by himself. And as he's moving in finally and kind of finishing up the move, he realizes that he doesn't have anyone to share the good news with, to share his space with anymore, right? And that hurts him. That makes him sad. And as this is happening, a person that he never expected to call him again did. And this person was Ellen, who was a woman that he met while working at a grocery store a few years back before the pandemic, because this was like kind of made during the pandemic, so it references it. And she is in a similar situation. She has just realized that her husband, her fiance was cheating on her, and she needs to go away. And she had no one else to reach or to turn to except Gabe. And it's been a few years, but she wants to get to talk to him again. And so he invites her over, and they talk and they chat, and they realize that they have feelings for each other, which is a bit quick, but it works. The concept is kept clear enough that that you understand it, and it's not so ridiculous or out of left field that you kind of go with it, right? And so they sleep together. They realize that they really enjoy their company with each other, and she basically moves in immediately. And as they're doing this, they kind of go through their life kind of slowly, and they introduce themselves to other female characters in their area, in their vicinity, and start to develop this small but very important kind of polyamorous relationship with these other characters. And it's very nicely done. It's very organic. It's a bit kind of like what's it called, too neat, right? Like it all works a bit too quickly, but of course it's a short novella series. You need to kind of adjust for that, right? Like the series takes place across 2 months, and you know, in the right circumstances that can happen in 2 months. Mostly you would assume that it would take a couple years, right? And so you have to have some suspension of disbelief, but it's not so crazy compared to like a harem-lit series that happens in a, you know, alien planet. Like there's a lot less barriers to entry. And so I think it's a really interesting kind of start for a or starting place for people that want to get into harem-lit. So I recommend Misty Vixen's Our Own Way if you're kind of looking for something to read that's a little bit trashy, a little bit simple, and just kind of really enjoyable, you know, over this Valentine's Day weekend, right? So I recommend it wholeheartedly. And that's basically the only novel that I've read. I did start reading this other story called Country Mage. I have the omnibus for it. That's all 10 books, I think. I can't remember who the author is. I'll put up a cover of it now. And it's been pretty fun. There really isn't too much going on here. It's basically just a guy moves to the country, finds a cabin. Turns out that his cabin is his family's. He interacts with a magic stone, and then he learns that he's a wizard, and he has to connect with familiars in order to access his magic. And the first one that he binds is a cat girl, and that's basically it, right? So pretty simple stuff, but I am looking forward to reading more of it. So yeah, otherwise, that's basically it for novels. Let's move on to the manga since I only have a few here. So I have been reading Embers, the new soccer manga that just released on Shonen Jump. It looks really fun. It's really enjoyable. I read the first 2 chapters because that's what's out so far, and it was pretty great. I actually had a lot of fun with it. It's been good. I like that it is about a defender, not a striker. I think that that's cool because he's still like the star of the show, but he works in a slightly different way, right? I've also been reading Martial King. I think that the first episode was a bit weak, right? The first chapter was a bit weak in certain areas. I did a review for it, so you can watch that if you want. But the second chapter was awesome. I really liked it. We got introduced to all the characters. We know all of the Boichi designs that he has, so all of the characters look pretty similar to that, since he can really only draw people in like 7 different ways, right? And we get introduced to Jim, who actually is called Jimu, like Jim with a Japanese accent, I guess. And he is someone that is trying to become a marshal for whatever reason, right? And he wants to grab this special weapon called Excalibur, which is actually a gun in this case, and proclaim himself as the Martial King, and that's why he's here. And pretty cool concept. It's really fun. I liked it a lot. The art is really the best part. The writing is not that great. So yeah, I also read This Land of Monsters, or The Land of Monsters. That was on the Viz app, I think. And that was also pretty good. I don't necessarily love the art style, but I think it's quite enjoyable. The story is very good. Basically, this boy and his father are monster hunters. They developed a country, and they are constantly trying to evade monsters, right? Or to get rid of monsters in their area. But as their wife dies, a pact that she made with the monsters of the land breaks apart. And so now the monsters are free to go into the country. And this causes a lot of issues. And our main character gets turned into a partial monster by this character called Alfor. And so now he's kind of on a journey to go find his mother, or her body, who was taken by Alfor. And so he's chasing after this character, and along the way he meets a lot of the characters that his mother had talked to him about as a child. So it's very interesting. I quite like it. I think it's cool. I just think the art style is not my favorite. So yeah, otherwise, so I've started to read Cutie Honey by Go Nagai. And it's pretty fun. It's really enjoyable. The art style is cool and interesting, because Go Nagai is quite good at drawing. But the story so far doesn't really make too much sense. So Cutie Honey is this robot girl, and she's really pretty, and she ends up enrolled in this school full of ugly people, all-girl school full of ugly girls. And they're kind of just going through life right now. She's getting introduced to all these characters. Not much is going on just yet, but it looks like it's going to be pretty fun. And I know a little bit about Cutie Honey, so I'm sure that eventually it'll get pretty action-packed and fun. So I just got to get through the initial kind of setup of it, right? So looking forward to that. Then we have Los Guias, book 1. This is by Yen Press. This is a pretty interesting story. I like the concept and the premise. I like the art style. I think that the execution has been pretty weak, because there is a very interesting and meaningful central storyline. The character and his female companion, who's this one, love each other. And they have a relationship that is too platonic for both of their tastes. They end up having an occult situation happen to them, and now they are cursed to basically be in heat, right, if you want to call it that. And the thing is that if they actually consummate their relationship, they die. The thing is that it takes too long to get to that point to understand that. And 2, the storyline is these characters love each other and they have to realize their feelings, right? The driving force behind it is their, insane lust for each other. But anytime that they start developing their relationship and talking about their feelings, their lust interrupts them. And so there's this kind of constant, I don't want to say it this way, but it's kind of the easiest way to mention, blue balling of the emotional development, where you lose it in order to have this like horny situation happen. And it's just not very well paced. Like, you have to weave it in properly, and it's just not done so properly, right? It's not done in the way that I feel it should. And so that's kind of the only issue that I have with this story. Otherwise, I think it's fine. I will read more of it because I do have more volumes of it. So if I like the next 2, I will keep it. If not, I'll probably have to get rid of this, because I don't really have time to waste on manga that really isn't hitting the way that I expect it to, right? Or that I want it to. Then we have this one. This is We Start at 3, number 1. This is by Katsuaki, creator of Futari H or Manga Sutra. And this was pretty interesting. This is about a polyamorous relationship. This female character, Leah, and her 2 male romantic partners, Susei and Imito. And these 2 characters are deeply, friendly with each other. They're best friends. They're brothers, basically. But their relationship is very much hinged on Leah. So they don't actually interact with each other romantically. But maybe they should, and that's kind of the struggle that they have internally. Well, the story actually focuses on the struggle to justify their existence to everyone else, and just kind of continue to deal with the fact that they are a different type of relationship. They live in a way that is quite different from Japan, and Japan is a very kind of shame-based society, and they're constantly kind of under threat, right? And they have to justify their relationship to other people, even though they know that in their hearts, this is the right thing to do, right? Or at least Leah knows. But Sosei and Emito also have some kind of difficulties dealing with this, because they kind of came into this relationship kind of through a trauma response that the characters had as kids, and then they develop as adults into this relationship, but maybe the relationship isn't exactly what they need, right? Or maybe it is, but not in the way that it currently is, right? And so they're struggling to find this out, right? And they're kind of going through changes in themselves as people and in their relationship together, and this might cause struggles, right? And so the writing of this is quite good. The art style is nice, but it's pretty old school. And the thing is that by the end of the first volume, I wasn't really necessarily compelled to pick up the next one, so I'll probably leave this alone for now. And if I find this, the second issue used or for a pretty good price, I will pick it up. I got this one for like $3. So basically, I feel like I would never go out of my way to buy it at full price anymore. And so I just have to wait for a used copy of this book to show up somewhere because I'm not going to go out of my way to buy that more volumes of that full price. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Let me take a quick break here, and then I'll come back to the comic books. Okay, we're back. So let's just look at the comic books real quick. I don't have too much to say about most of these. I'm going to review them soon, or I have already reviewed them, right? So let's start with Vampirus Carmilla here. This is issue 25. It's a random issue that I picked up from Barnes & Noble. It's pretty good. I actually quite enjoyed it. So this is basically a magazine in the style of the old Warren and EC Comics magazines, right? The ones like Eerie and, Vampirella and what's the other one? Creepy, and these sorts of old school kind of anthology stories, right? Or anthology magazines. And this one's pretty good. This is $7 for about 50 pages of content, which is, not great. The Savage Sword of Conan is the same price for 80 pages of content, or slightly less than that, maybe like 60 pages of content. So the pricing isn't horrible. The kind of talent shown here is quite good. The writers aren't the worst. They're pretty good, actually. Sometimes one or two of the stories aren't as good as the other ones. The art all over the place is quite enjoyable, with very minimal issues here and there. The other kind of cool thing about this story, or about this magazine series, is that it uses these classic old school pulpy, drawings, right? This is a San Julian drawing or painting, and it looks great. There is some kind of like detail loss here, or some graininess to it, but based on this painting, I think that's also partially just the nature of how San Julian painted this, right? So I'm not really sure, but overall, pretty enjoyable there. It was not a waste of $7. It was actually a pretty good purchase for $7, so I'm quite happy about that. Then we have a bunch of single issue comic books here. We have Red Sonja number 18. This is the end of Red Sonja for now, which is pretty good, although we do have a Mars Attacks Sonja series coming up soon. That's not really in canon. That's kind of a side story. And the cool thing about that one is that you get a trading card every time you buy an issue. So that's pretty fun. I will definitely going to pick that up, at least a few issues, just to get some of those trading cards, and then we'll see, right? Then we have Thundercats number 10. Finally got my hands on this and finally able to read more of the Thundercats story. That was pretty great. We have Chitara number 10 here, number 5. This is the end of the story, and it was quite good. I actually quite liked it. I think it was enjoyable. Here we have Apex. This was a great issue. I really had a fun time with it, and there was this mystery that was introduced and then solved within the story, and it was awesome. It was a very interesting take on the Thundercats, right? It was a very almost kind of like Old Man Logan type story, which I liked a lot. Then we have Superman, Absolute Superman number 4. This is awesome. I'm really loving this series. This was the introduction of Jimmy Olsen. It was the development of Lois Lane as a secret agent, or of an agent of, a Peacemaker. And Superman wasn't really in this all that much, but it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. I love this story so far. I'm really, really liking it. Then we have Silverhawks. I read this. I liked the story. I did not like the art at all. I think that this is not the right artwork for this sort of series. I think that there could have been a better choice, because these properties aren't like the highest level properties around, right? Everyone knows Thundercats. Not everyone really knows Silverhawks. And if you give us like an amazing cover like this, and you give us a writer like Ed Bryson, who is pretty good, he has done a great job, and then you give us art that really isn't that stellar, that spectacular, that has a very cartoony kind of style that just doesn't work for me, I feel cheated, and I feel like this didn't deserve to cost $5. You know, based on the artwork inside, I would give this like a $3 price tag. And that might be too much for me. Like, I just would not pay that money for that, right? So I had to cancel this series. Thankfully, my comic book store only orders it like month to month. They don't actually order, too far in advance. So canceling it was pretty simple and accessible and easy for me to do. But, I'm very disappointed. I was really looking forward to reading about Silverhawks, kind of learning about this new series that I hadn't heard of before. And I'm just deeply disappointed. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. No big deal. Then we have The Moon is Following Us, number 6. This was great. We get introduced to the nightmares of the little girl that is the main reason why the story is existing, and they're pretty awesome, and I like it. There was this betrayal at the end of issue 5, which was the end of the first arc. This is the start of the second arc, and it's been awesome. Really, really phenomenal stuff. I'm really liking it. Then we have Bug Wars. This is the first issue of this new series by Jason Aaron and Mahmoud Asrar. And wow, dude, it's been super freaking awesome. I really, really like it. It's a very interesting story in the sense that you have this character who's a young boy, and you have his older brother who is like a very angry person, and then you have his mom who's basically breaking down and trying her best to not show her children this, right? And they move back to their family's house, or her husband's house, their father's home, and this is bad for the older son because he saw his father die in this house. And it's good for the younger son because he gets to live in a place so near to his father's work that was about bugs, and he's a fan of bugs himself, right? And so the mom goes off to work, and the sons are left at home, and the older son tries to kill all of the younger son's bugs, all of his bug collection, all of the specimens that he has. And as he does this, the young boy tries to escape and run away, and when he does, he touches something. And this thing that he touches shrinks him down to the size of a bug. And so now he has to live in this bug world that opened up to him, these mites that exist that are these basically bug humanoids. And he's embroiled in this bug-human conflict that is existing that he has no clue about, that no one has any clue about. And it's really, really interesting. And we get introduced to two major players here. We have the beetle-riding tribes, which are like the savages, and then we have the anthills. And the anthills are basically like, Romans, right? And our main character ends up with the beetle people, and he has a rhinoceros beetle, and it's very interesting. And I really want to see where this goes. This is also a great issue, $5 for this issue, but it had a really nice, thick cardstock, and the issue was really, really long. It's a very thick issue, so very, very happy with this. I had a lot of fun reading that. I liked it a lot. Then we have this. This is a independent comic book. I got this directly from the writer. This is Tibby and her time-traveling psychedelic mushrooms. And so this is a streamer girl who grows mushrooms and weed on the side. One day she decides to try one of her new mushrooms, and when she does and she takes a bath, she ends up getting transported, back in time. Actually, I think she ends up getting transported to a different dimension, but that's not really here or there. And when she does, she encounters this, velociraptor, this biblically accurate velociraptor there, or, dromedon or some sort, and it chases her. And it's really fun and really enjoyable. There really isn't too much going on. This is a very dialogue lacking series. It's a very, art forward type series, and it was really fun. I will do a proper review for it at some point, but for now, I just wanted to mention it. It's been really enjoyable. So, yeah, then we have Savage Tales. This is a Red Sonja book. Actually, it's not a Red Sonja book. It's a Dynamite Heroines book. So you have a Gulliver of Mars story here. You have a John Carter of Mars story here. Then you have a Vampirella story and a Red Sonja story. And none of them are amazing, but they're not really bad either. This is mostly just a cover purchase for me. I just really like how the cover looks, so that's what I decided to pick up. And, it's not worth $6, but, it's not that bad. Then we have Thundercats 11. I'm still a few issues behind, but I will get back to it eventually. This is a great issue. This is the start of the next arc, and it focuses on Lion-O going to confront Mumra, and the fact that maybe this was the wrong thing to do, and it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. And then we have Transformers number 17. Awesome issue, and the ending of it was so great. We got introduced to a new character called Shredhead, based on Carly's van, and wow, he is awesome, or they are awesome. I guess I'm not really sure what gender they are. Really good stuff. I really, really love this series. It's just so great. Then we have Witchblade number 8. This is kind of a recap, kind of start to a new issue, or kind of start to a new, what's it called? Kind of storyline, if you want, and it's pretty fun. I really like it. Basically, Sarah is trying to kind of figure out what to do next. She is not the actual owner of the Witchblade. The Witchblade chose her, and it chose wrong, and she can't really use it properly now because she has lost her her confidence, and she needs to figure out what to do about that. And it's really great. I'm really enjoying this version of Witchblade. I can't wait to read more of it. So yeah, that's it for the single issues. I do have a pair of collected editions here I want to talk about. So here we have Love, the Tiger. This is book 1 of 5 in this series, and this is by Frédéric Bremond and Federico Bertolucci. And this is a story about nature. It's about this tiger, and you follow this tiger as it goes through its life, and it just kind of goes hunting, and then it fails at hunting, and then it tries to fight a crocodile, and then it tries to eat a lion, and an elephant, and then he has to fight some panthers, and you just kind of go through this life, right? And it ends kind of brutally with the tiger killing a man. And the story isn't really about love. It's about understanding nature, or about loving nature, right? It's not love about like the tiger loving something. It's about us loving nature, even though it's kind of cruel. And I liked it. I thought it was cool. I do want to get the rest of these, but this is a $18 book. I would never pay that. I think I paid like $6 for this one. So if I find more of them at that price tag, I will buy them. I will not pay full price for something like this because there's no text. This is a purely artistic kind of endeavor, and it's good, but it's not worth that much money, right? This is more in line with something I would find on YouTube for free, like a 2-minute kind of video, just kind of going through this animation, and that's not really worth $18 for me. So we'll see. But yeah, something that is definitely worth the price tag, but I probably won't pay it anyways, is this. This is the collected Toppy Volume 1, The Enchanted World. This is a collection of Sergio Toppy's works. There's like 13 or 14 volumes of this, and these are all just short stories, very similar to stuff that you can find on Eerie or Creepy, or stories like that, right? EC Comics type stuff. And in this book, we have 13 stories. We have the Rosella and Wood, Black and Tans, Solitudinus Morbis, Crow, Mushroom, The King and the Crow, Hartruge, The Dollmaker, Iron Guac, Pribilov 1898, and A Minor God, as you guys can see right there. And these are really interesting, almost kind of psychedelic looking stories sometimes. This is really a treat in terms of artwork. And there's a lot of magical realism to this story. There's a lot of very kind of European mysticism. Well, mysticism is the wrong word. European fantasy to this story. Right? Very fairy tale-esque. And it's very beautiful. I really like this. I want to buy more. I think $25 is definitely a good price, but I don't like paying full price for most things. Actually, I don't like paying full price for anything, but sometimes you can't help it. So we'll see. I will definitely look for more of these. I'll probably just kind of hunt them down via, eBay and used bookstores. So yeah, I recommend you guys check this out for sure though. So yeah, that's all I've been reading this month. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you're thinking about anything that I said. Also, what have you read this month? I have a few plans about what to read next, like this, Cold Murder in Colton Lake. This is a Harlequin intrigue novel, which is a bit of a smutty or kind of basic romance story that is very popular in England. The line is, I don't know if this story is popular itself, but I got it for $2, so decided to give it a go. So yeah, those are the things that I read this month. That's the next thing that I will be reading this month, and I just want to know what you guys are doing. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys later.